to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we've got a guide this month titled Frequently Asked Questions About RMDs. Mike, RMDs, or required minimum distributions, what are they exactly?
Yeah, it's not something you really think about when you're 45 years old and putting money in there, but eventually the IRS forces you to start taking the money out. And so an RMD, a required minimum distribution, is an annual amount that you must start taking out once you hit a certain age. It used to be 70.5 for everyone. Now it's as high as age 75 for some folks on their traditional 401k and IRA assets.
So something like a Roth IRA for an individual would not have a required distribution.
Yeah, just one of the many benefits of a Roth IRA is that lack of a required minimum distribution for the initial account holder.
When you talk about how to figure out how much your required distribution is going to be, how do you determine what that amount is once you hit the age at which you qualify for them?
Talk to a professional, I think, is my answer, because it is pretty complicated. But the IRS publishes this giant table about uniform life expectancies, and then you have to, compare your age to the table, compare it to your year-end balance, and come up with that dollar amount. And that dollar amount is the one that has to be withdrawn by the year end of that year.
The guide is titled Frequently Asked Questions About RMDs, and the way to request it is by calling 800-393-4001. Again, the guide is titled Frequently Asked Questions About RMDs, and that phone number to request it is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
We are the Debt Destroyer Network. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt, call now for free information that helps you destroy your debt. It's great advice. Plus, when you make this free call now, we have Debt Destroyer experts ready to help. They can show you how to destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help slash your debt. Call the Debt Destroyer now for free information. Call now. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. Again, that's 800-430-8804.
This Veterans Day weekend, help honor all who have served this country. Join us on Saturday, November 9th for the 9th Annual Disabled American Veterans 5K Boston. It's a run and walk to support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. Register now at dav5k.boston.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org. CancerSupportMass.org.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane.
Chuck, Paul, and Tucker with you here on a boring Wednesday. Markets remain stuck in neutral. Look, it's been just a really boring week so far, and if you try to hype up every week like it's the greatest thing ever, then look, people are just going to be like, okay, like you're the boy who cried wolf. So the last couple days, the S&P has floated up maybe 0.25% each day. Not really a ton of movement today, and it's because, quite honestly, we're not really getting any meaningful economic data at the moment. Earnings season is done at the moment, and so absent anything that is a huge surprise to markets, there's just nothing to really move markets that much. I mean, you look at what came out this morning. Hey, we got, mortgage application data. Okay, great. We get that every Wednesday, and it, is showing kind of the same trends that we've seen, which are higher refinances, but still a sluggish purchase index that isn't moving a ton. We also got some new home sales data that came in basically in line with expectations. Not really making any waves there. So, again, how are markets going to react? They're pretty much not going to. And this is kind of the status quo until kind of tomorrow, but really Friday. When Friday we're going to be getting PCE inflation data as well as personal income and spending. Tomorrow we get some GDP data, but it's the second revision, the third reading of second quarter GDP. So it's not really anything that we haven't seen before. So Friday you get a little bit of news, but this is all kind of setting up for next week, which I do think has the potential to be one of those fun market-moving weeks, because next week you look at what we have on tap. Monday we got Chicago PMI and Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index. Powell's also speaking Monday afternoon. Tuesday, ISM Manufacturing and JOLTS report, the job openings report. Wednesday, ADP employment. Thursday, ISM services and weekly jobless claims. Friday, jobs report. So you get this build-up through the entire week there. And after that, you're right into earnings season the week after. So this is kind of the calm before the potential storm. I mean, again, I don't think anyone has a great conclusive read on exactly where this economy is going, other than it's been slowing down. It's continuing to slow down, but in the last month or so, we've started to see a few green shoots that indicate parts of it might be bottoming. Those parts, when I look at the areas that, we've seen a little bit of improvement, housing starts and building permits starting to show some signs of life. You've got retail sales that are still cooking on a pretty good rate at this point. On the other hand, the labor market, kind of starting to look crappy, quite honestly. Kind of starting to look not great. And so there are some different, crosswinds that we're seeing in this economy. And the question is, hey, are those slowdown ones going to win out over the ones suggesting that we're bottoming? And the next couple months of data is going to give us the answer there as far as where things go.
Yeah, I was trying to look for, any piece of data to really hone in on this week that is noteworthy, but the overall sentiment is the labor market is the most important focus for us, and really we won't get further information on that until next week. Other than that, you're just kind of parsing through individual stories on companies and things like that. And then there's obviously a lot of economic policy claims from politicians that are being sort of circulated around at the moment.
What's being circulated these days?
Should we segue into
yes, I thought that'd be great.
We've got Trump and Kamala Harris both on the campaign trail, coming out each day with different economic policies. And we'll start here with Trump's one. This is, I believe he spoke yesterday in Savannah, Georgia, where he was rebranding a new American industrialism. And in this particular speech, he mentioned that for companies that are to manufacture in the U.S., he intends to lower the corporate tax rate for those companies from 21% to 15%. Trump had made headlines because he had gone after John Deere for shifting some of the production of one of their vehicles from Iowa to a facility in Mexico, and claiming that he would institute 200% tariffs on them, in order to combat or thwart this effort. We've talked about this before, Chuck, and I was trying to do some digging on this yesterday. There is a huge amount of focus from President Trump to try and bring back manufacturing jobs to the United States and foreign investment into the United States for manufacturing. And you and I have spoke about this concept on the show before. Is this something that we necessarily want? This idea that just by lowering corporate taxes and potentially assessing some tariffs, that America is going to turn into this manufacturing dominant country. And some of the numbers I parsed through yesterday is we actually do manufacture some things really well and actually rate pretty high in certain areas. But this idea that this is going to bring hundreds of thousands of jobs here, I'm just not sure if that's the case or the best approach to go at it from an economic standpoint.
Yeah, look, there are things that you want to make in America because in the event of any kind of conflict or supply chain disruptions, as you saw back in 2020, you want to have domestic supplies of those things. Medicines, medical devices, semiconductors, steel, things along those lines. There's stuff that you want to have domestic supplies of. There are other things that you sit there and you say, look, if this gets made overseas, whether it is, in China, Europe, or wherever, I don't care where it's made because it's not a national security issue and it's not even a quality of life issue. I use the example of Tickle Me Elmos. Do I care at all where Tickle Me Elmos are made? No, because if I can't get enough Tickle Me Elmos, I'll find something else for the kid to play with. Like, it's just not a big problem. There are other things that are probably middle ground where you say, look, I might not want this to be made in China because of, concerns about what, different, potential for espionage and things like that. So we're going to cover a story later today about cars. Do I want, the U.S. to have, importing, cars or, transportation equipment from China? Probably not. But do I need it to be made here as opposed to in Mexico or, a country that I do not have similar concerns about espionage with? No. So, that's kind of the middle ground, which is, hey, I don't need it here, but I probably don't want it made in China or, Iran or, places like that. Iran is obviously kind of we don't import anything from Iran, but... So there's kind of this mosaic and this patchwork that you build where you say, look, there are the things that we need to make here, at least in bare minimum quantities, that have to be here and that we need to incentivize, even if it's a bad thing economically for us to do so. That's fine. There's then that middle ground, which is, hey, it'd be nice to make these things here. Probably don't want them made in China or in a couple other countries, but other than that, it's fine if they're made somewhere else because if we can get them more cheaply from there, that's perfectly fine. And it helps to keep the cost of living, where it needs to be. And there are other things where you say, look, do I care where my water bottle is made? No, make the thing wherever the heck you want as long as it, passes the basic, requirements of whatever it is for that. Don't make the water bottle out of lead or whatever it is, but okay, fine. I think that when we look at the idea of, hey, we need to, make everything here, well, what's the cost of doing so? Because the reason why companies moved production overseas is not because, the CEOs of major companies didn't get together over the last 2 decades, 3 decades, and say, hey, let's move production to Asia because we want to give, all of the American jobs to people in Asia. No, that's not really what they did. They looked at it and they said, hey, we can improve or maintain our margins by moving this production overseas. And so it's cheaper for us to produce, cheaper for our customers to buy, and that's why they did it. Well, if you're going to move that production back, what happens to that cost? It's not a costless shift.
Yep.
And that's the thing. If you really want to pay, how much does a Tickle Me Elmo cost, Tucker? Tickle Me Elmo cost. Let's see. It looks like if you buy one on Amazon, right now it's going for $12.99. Actually, no, I got another one that
I'm seeing one that's $50.
$50? $50 for a Tickle Me Elmo. What's the one I have here? Oh, this is not a Tickle Me Elmo. This is just an Elmo. Elmo's $13. To get the tickling one, it's $40 to $50. Do you want to start paying $75, $80 for your Tickle Me Elmos? Probably not. So why do you want to make that here? And I'm not saying that like we're saying, hey, let's build everything, but this is why you don't want to build everything here, because you don't need that to be built here. So I think as we go through these conversations, it's a question of, hey, how do we prioritize the things that we want to really build here in the United States? Because we don't need to build everything here if we can get other places to manufacture at a cheaper price that allows us to buy at those cheaper prices and not see significant inflation from trying to bring that production back domestically.
Yeah, and that's why I think the targeted tariffs approach are a better recourse than looking at broad sweeping measures where you're assessing a tariff on all imports from Mexico or all imports from another country.
I'm even fine with the all imports from China thing, given the abuses that they've had there.
That's why I did not mention China there.
I don't have a huge problem with what the first Trump administration did back in 2017 through 2020. I don't think there's any problem there in terms of looking at that and saying, yeah, if you want to, address the China trade imbalance through tariffs, widespread tariffs on China, I think there's a very reasonable case to be made that was the right thing to do there.
Yeah, I just worry about the retaliatory efforts, not specifically of China, I'm on the same page with you there, but of other countries to implement these high tariff strategies. It just reeks of potential concerns for inflation to reignite with some of these policies. And again, this is part of the campaign trail, so we have to take a lot of these with many grains of salt because you're trying to buy votes. But ultimately, it does really lead to a lingering concern regarding inflation, which hopefully we've resolved at this point over a year and a half to 2 year battle with it.
Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about China and their latest efforts to try to stimulate the Chinese economy right after this.
The latest news on inflation, the Fed, the economy, and how the markets are reacting every morning right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If your business needs help tracking inventory, SAB Solutions can help. We've been helping businesses change from manual to automated warehouse management systems for more than 15 years. And when we put our solution in place, it'll make your business more efficient and avoid delayed shipments to your customers. SAB Solutions understands inventory management, and by using our system, your warehouse will quickly show an increase in productivity and accuracy. For a no-cost assessment, visit us online at sabsolutionsma.com. That's sabsolutionsma.com. Trusts are essential documents that can help protect your assets from the nursing home. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and get their free guide called Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. Let them help determine which is right for you. That's 866-848-5699 or request the guide online by visiting their website at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Last year, we introduced you to Mark Vaughter, CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, and we're proud to have him back as the presenting sponsor of the 2024 DAV 5K Boston.
I'm a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts. The DAV does incredible work, and it was one of the first organizations I became familiar with after my military service ended in 1984. As I built my company, Veterans Development Corporation, I did it knowing that I'd be giving back to fellow vets who need jobs, support services, services, medical supplies, and much more. I work with disabled veterans every day and is one of the key reasons why I'm such a big supporter of Dan Stack and the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts in this year's DAV 5K Boston. Please join me in supporting this tremendous cause by taking part in this year's event or by making a donation to the DAV.
Veterans Development Corporation is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
If you're approaching or have recently reached the age of 73, required minimum distributions should be a key consideration as you evaluate your retirement strategy. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. There are several factors to think about when it comes to RMDs, including the types of accounts that require RMDs, when to take your withdrawals, how your RMD is calculated, and the penalty for missing all or part of an RMD. That's what our new guide this month is all about. It's called Frequently Asked Questions About Required Minimum Distributions, and you can get your copy today by calling 800-393-4001. RMDs are a key part of your retirement strategy, so don't delay. Get your guide today by calling 800-393-4001. That number one more time, 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
We are the Debt Destroyer Network. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt, call now for free information that helps you destroy your debt. It's great advice. Plus, when you make this free call now, we have debt destroyer experts ready to help. They can show you how to destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help slash your debt. Call the Debt Destroyer now for free information. Call now. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. Again, that's 800-430-8804.
Miss any of the show? Catch up at your convenience by visiting financialexchangeshow.com and clicking the on-demand icon where you'll find all of our interviews and full shows. This is your home for the latest business and financial news in New England and around the country. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, the People's Bank of China announced a rate cut earlier this week. They are cutting the Chinese monetary system is a little bit different from the U.S. one, so when you hear about the stuff that they're doing, it's not exactly analogous to what the Federal Reserve does in the United States. I'll quote here from Bloomberg. The People's Bank of China cut the rate of the medium-term lending facility to 2% from 2.3%, according to a statement on Wednesday. This is the biggest cut that the bank has made since 2016. It's part of the package that they announced yesterday. They also lowered the reserve ratio for banks, meaning that banks don't need to hold as much cash back when making loans. They can basically use a larger percentage of deposits to lend out money. Also, 7-day reverse repurchase notes. The People's Bank of China has cut the rate on those instruments by 20 basis points, or is expected to cut the interest rate on those by 20 basis points to 1.5% soon as well. And other things that they did, they are planning on, they announced the ability for basically Chinese citizens to be able to borrow direct from the People's Bank of China in order to buy Chinese stocks, which is part of the reason that the Chinese stock market surged yesterday. It's like, hey, we'll lend you money to buy equities. Gee, that sounds great.
That always works out well.
And so ultimately, the question on this is going to be, look, is any of this enough to actually boost the Chinese economy? And the answer is it probably provides a boost from where it was going otherwise. But you still have an economy that's dependent on two things: real estate development, which China has tried to curtail in the past few years, and many Chinese citizens are feeling burned on because, hey, it's a major source of investment for the Chinese population, and when it's performed the way it has the last several years, they get skittish to invest again, rightly so. The second piece is foreign direct investment. How much money is flowing into China to build new factories and, things like that to produce exports? And a number of companies are looking at the Chinese market right now and saying, hey, we're feeling a little bit burned by what's happened here as well. We covered stories in the last couple weeks about how automakers are rethinking their investment in China because of this growth of the Chinese domestic EV industry that is now pricing out a lot of foreign competition. And so, hey, you've got that happening. You've got companies like Apple saying we want to make more of our stuff in India and not, directing that investment back to China. It's unclear to me how this ultimately changes the trajectory of the Chinese economy, which can best be described as bad right now.
Not to mention you have just geopolitical tensions in place where companies are hesitant to get stuck in, mired in any type of crosshairs that when you're dealing with the Chinese government. Micron and others have been the target of retaliatory efforts where you can be operating your business one day and then shut down or in a very difficult spot the following day. So there's the uncertainty, which leads to lessening of the foreign direct investment, like you mentioned. And then on the real estate side of things, Barclays has estimated that approximately $18 trillion of household wealth has been wiped out since 2021, which is equivalent to about $60K per family. We were talking about these yesterday, where the property market's in a really difficult spot. A lot of middle-class families in China, rather than using the markets, their big investment oftentimes is a rental property of some sort. And you have this significant backlog we covered over the years. Many of the property developers who went belly up over there, and you have a backlog of unfinished homes where they were taking deposits for these units that are far behind on the completion front. So it just doesn't really seem like any of these measures directly will impact clearing out those concerns. Just because you lower borrowing costs, to me, it's a step in the right direction, but to your point, it's probably the first of many steps that will need to occur before you get this thing trending in the right direction.
I also have a great stat. This is from last week, so it's a little bit out of date now, but this is from the head of equities and markets at WisdomTree. And if you go back to the start of 1994, so almost 30 years, and if you look at the MSCI China US dollar total return index, so basically, what do you get if you invest in the China index denominated in dollars as a U.S. citizen, pretty much? The total return, including dividends and everything there, is negative 11% over that 30-year period. Wow. Negative 11%.
With a country that was growing on a GDP basis double digits during a lot of that time frame.
Most of that bad performance is since 2016, 2017.
Right.
And specifically, you look at that, and it's several years after Xi came to power and has basically run the economy into the ground in China as he has tightened his grip on the country.
Not great, Bob.
Not great. Not great, Xi. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we're joined by Todd Lutsky for Ask Todd after Wall Street Watch.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
This Veterans Day weekend, help honor all who have served this country. Join us on Saturday, November 9th for the 9th Annual Disabled American Veterans 5K Boston. It's a run and walk to support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. Saturday, November 9th at DCR's Castle Island in South Boston. Together, let's honor all who have sacrificed for our freedom. Register or donate now at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up because we have something better,
stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit goredforwomen.org today to learn more.
Saving money in an IRA or a 401k can provide tax advantages and are excellent ways to help make sure you're financially prepared for retirement. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and if you're nearing retirement, you need to be aware of the federal regulations regarding required minimum distributions. Once you reach a certain age, you must begin withdrawing money from these accounts. RMDs can influence which accounts to withdraw from first and how much you'll owe in taxes during retirement. If you need information regarding the rules related to RMDs, call us at 800-393-4001 and ask for your copy of our new free guide called Frequently Asked Questions about Required Minimum Distributions. RMDs are a core element to your retirement strategy, and this guide can help educate you on the rules related to them. That number again, 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange Quick Tip of the Day. And today we're talking about your new guide, Todd, Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. If there are younger families out there, should they consider having a trust in place, and what type?
Most people don't think about it when you're young, but if you're a young family, meaning you've got minor children, you might not have a ton of assets yet, but you want to make sure that what you do have is protected for your children. You could probably use a revocable trust. I don't think you need an irrevocable trust, but a revocable trust. You put your assets in. Again, they're going to avoid probate. Again, it may or may not be a big estate tax issue at the moment, but whatever you have, your children can own, right? They are minors. So you don't necessarily want to leave your assets to a guardian and have the guardian deal with everything when you can design a trust to hold the assets and ensure how and when and where and why they get these assets. Just pick the right trustee, put the language you need in the trust to control it for those children, and the trust will accomplish that task. So just because you're young, folks, doesn't mean you shouldn't think about your estate planning. Sometimes it's not all about the money and the probate and the taxes, but more so about the family behind the estate plan.
The estate planning experts at Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 30 years, and they have written a brand new guide called Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. Call right now for your free copy, 866-848-5699. That's 848-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Well, after another positive day and fresh record highs for the Dow and S&P 500, markets today are pretty quiet in mixed territory as Wall Street readies for jobless claims tomorrow, and more on the inflation front when the core PCE index is unveiled on Friday morning. Right now, the Dow is down by about 0.33%. S&P 500 is completely flat, and the NASDAQ is up by over 0.25%. Russell 2000 is down by 1/3%. 10-year Treasury yield up by 3 basis points at 3.77%, and crude oil down about 1.5%, trading at $70.52 a barrel. Breaking news this morning, where Google filed an antitrust complaint with the European Commission accusing Microsoft of using unfair licensing contracts to stifle competition in the multi-billion-dollar cloud computing industry. Google alleges that Microsoft uses unfair licensing terms to lock in clients and exert control over the cloud market. Both of those stocks today are flat. Meanwhile, Bloomberg reported that German software developer SAP is being investigated by the U.S. Justice Department over potential price fixing. That stock is down by 2%. Elsewhere, KB Home shares down by 4.5% after the home builder posted weaker than expected fiscal third quarter earnings, where its year-over-year housing gross margin also fell. Both General Motors and Ford received downgrades from Morgan Stanley, citing China competition and a weakening U.S. consumer. Those stocks down anywhere between 4 and 5%. And Micron Technology will post their earnings after today's closing bell. I'm Tucker Silva, and that's Wall Street Watch.
This is Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you have an existing estate plan or are in the market for one, Todd Lutsky is here to answer your questions and help you plan for later life. Ask Todd is presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 35 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Visit CushingDolan.com. Now, here's Todd Lutsky.
As promised, we're now joined by Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan. The segment is Ask Todd, and it's your chance to speak with Todd Lutsky live on air about your estate planning questions. Phone lines are open at 888-205-2263. We got plenty of room on them right now, but they do fill up in the last couple weeks. We've not gotten through all of the calls, so get calling early to make sure you get in line and we can get to you. Again, that number is 888-205-2263. 2263. That is the number to call to speak to Todd Lutsky about your estate planning questions. Again, it's 888-205-2263, and we'll get to your questions in just a little bit. One more time, 888-205-2263. Mr. Lutsky, how are you doing today?
I am doing fine. I'm afraid to ask you, though.
I'm good. Did you see there was big news yesterday?
No, what happened?
I'm kind of a dinosaur geek.
Oh, you are?
Archaeologists, they just found a fossilized dinosaur fart.
Well, no, I didn't realize that.
They called it a blast from the past. Just very exciting news. Todd, I want to talk a little bit about emergency nursing home situations. Let's say that someone is in a case where they didn't necessarily do any planning, and now they have a long-term care situation that is imminent.
Yeah.
Is there a scenario in which it still makes sense to do updated estate planning documents, including trusts, as you are heading into a long-term care situation?
So, generally not the normal estate planning trust that you would think about, right? That's probably too late for that because, like the Medicaid irrevocable trust that we reference in the guide and things like that, you need, there's a 5-year waiting rule that many of us have learned about in the past, and so it's hard to overcome that. But there is, and it is somewhat breaking news, the pooled trust, which, by the way, was around for my whole career as practicing in the elder law world, and then in, I believe, March of 2024, it went away by legislation. Or it went, they took it away as an option.
So just earlier this year.
Earlier this year. And then lo and behold, effective now, I think it's effective December of this year, pooled trusts are back. By legislation, they actually decided to pass a law and not allow these regulations to apply anymore, and they went at the legislative level here in Massachusetts. They've brought back pooled trusts, and that would be the kind of trust that you're referring to here, Chuck, I believe. So,
what is a pooled trust?
A pooled trust is one that we actually don't even prepare, but when you're applying for Medicaid in the scenario you mentioned, that's when these would come up. So like a financial institution would prepare this pooled trust, and then there's this charity called Plan of Massachusetts and Rhode Island. They're the charity. They serve as trustee, and then this money gets put into this trust along with other people's money, and it gets invested and managed. For who? For the person who put it in. And that money can be used for their benefit. But the key is that by transferring it into this pooled trust, there's no 5-year waiting period. So again, last minute, you as you mentioned, you're going into the nursing home. This is when you would use this. And then there's no 5-year waiting period to put it in. The catch is that there's a payback provision. So when you pass away, if you've been in the nursing home for less than 2 years, then you need to not only give 10% to charity, Plan of Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and repay the state for your care that you received, benefits that you received, again, at a Medicaid rate, way better, and then the balance can go to the family. Or if you've been in there for 2 years or longer, then you got to give 20% to charity, pay back the state, balance to the family. Still, it's a wonderful way of getting on Medicaid last minute and leveraging private pay against the Medicaid rate, and everybody wins, from the nursing home to the state to the family to the applicant.
Talking with Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan. If you have a question to ask Todd about your estate plan, still room on the phone lines at 888-205-2263. That number again is 888-205-2263. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, it's going to be right to your questions with Todd Lutsky. So again, still some room on the phone lines at 888-205-2263. When we come back, right to your questions with Todd. That number one last time is 888-205-2263.
Ask Todd with Todd Lutsky every Wednesday at 10:30, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Summer is coming to an end, so it's time to take out your planner and book a spectacular vacation in the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John are 3 of the most incredible islands anywhere in the Caribbean, and their popularity is at an all-time high. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip that you'll never forget. If you act fast, you can still celebrate New Year's on St. Croix and enjoy the St. Croix Crucian Festival from December 26th through January 4th. Enjoy world-class cuisine, pristine beaches, a wide variety of water sports, and some of the greatest musical acts the islands have to offer. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free, because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport needed and no money to exchange. Fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands on your trip to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and make your plans today. That's visitusvi.com. A trust is an essential document that can help protect your assets from a nursing home and potentially eliminate your estate taxes. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law, estate planning, and asset protection. And this month, their new guide called Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts can help you learn about the various types of trusts that exist, the pros and cons of each, and ultimately, which one will be best for you and your family. Trusts are a critical element to any solid estate plan, but the process can be tricky, and that's why it's important to understand the differences between the types of trusts that are available. Planning for later life is a challenging process, so don't leave your assets to chance. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and get your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699. You can also request the guide online by visiting their website at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
If you're approaching or have recently reached the age of 73, required minimum distributions should be a key consideration as you evaluate your retirement strategy. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. There are several factors to think about when it comes to RMDs, including the types of accounts that require RMDs, when to take your withdrawals, how your RMD is calculated, and the penalty for missing all or part of an RMD. That's what our new guide this month is all about. It's called Frequently Asked Questions About Required Minimum Distributions, and you can get your copy today by calling 800-393-4001. RMDs are a key part of your retirement strategy, so don't delay. Get your guide today by calling 800-393-4001. That number one more time, 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Todd Lutsky answers your questions about estate and elder life planning every Wednesday at 10:30, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Still room for one more call for Todd Lutsky at 888-205-2263. Let's go now to our first caller, though, Mark in Boston. Mark, what is your question for Todd?
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for taking the call. Quick question. I just set up a will and a trust, a revocable trust, and I've got my home. I own my home, and it's in an LLC. I've got some life insurance, stock stuff, but everything, the beneficiary of everything is the revocable trust. Now, what do I have to do to protect this and all my stuff against the nursing home? Can I drop that in a revocable trust, or I'm just kind of lost on this?
Yeah, let me. And interestingly enough, and for everybody listening, it just sounds a little like, Mark, you're kind of all over the place. So let me. You said a lot of things that mean a lot of things to me legally. So let me ask you a couple of clarifying questions. One, and the one that's most disconcerting to me is that you said your home, your primary residence, is in a limited liability company. Is that correct?
Yes, it's a multi-family home. So I put it. I put it in an LLC.
I can understand why you did it partly, but the thing you need to really remember, and I generally don't do this, is even though it's a two-family or a multi-family home, I get that you're renting it and you want to protect it, but when you put it in an LLC, you immediately lose any of the capital gains exclusion that you would get if you were to sell it. So if it's a two-family home, 50% of the gain would be, if you're married, 50% of the gain would be allowed or available to shelter up to $500,000 of that gain from taxes. You lose that immediately by putting it into an LLC, because now you're telling the government that it's not my home anymore. It's now a commercial residential property. So that's something we might want to fix. Obviously, I get the protection side of it, but you might want to have a lot of umbrella coverage on insurance. Umbrella insurance could maybe help with that. Then the other piece would be, it sounds like everything else is centered around your revocable trust. So depending on how much you're worth, right, not everybody needs to do irrevocable trust. I mean, if you're self-insured for the nursing home, then you probably don't need to worry. But depending on the size of your estate and your age, like 60 and over is sort of what I think about in my head when I mention this to clients. But if you're in that category and you want to protect assets from the nursing home, then we would completely get rid of what you have and you would start fresh with an irrevocable, or if you're married and you're worth more than $2 million, then 2 irrevocable Medicaid trusts, and we would take your house and put it in that new trust. Whether it stays in the LLC or not, we would have to discuss. I don't love the idea, but, we certainly can do it. And along with some of your investment portfolios, not IRA accounts, not retirement accounts, and we would put those non-retirement accounts and some of your real estate into these irrevocable trusts. And that's the way to go to provide the protection from the nursing home while continuing to get the benefits of avoiding probate and eliminating or sheltering or reducing your estate tax, both at the federal and the state level. So, and of course, providing for your family. So it does everything the revocable trust does that you have, but it adds nursing home protection planning. So that's probably the way to go for you, Mark, and you can figure out how best to do that. Reach out to an estate planning attorney, and they can help get your ducks in a row. That said, Mark made us touch on 2 of the top 7 estate planning trusts. Mark mentioned the revocable. I came back with the irrevocable. Those are 2 of the top 7 estate planning trusts mentioned in this guide this month. And there's others, from irrevocable life insurance trusts to sole benefit trusts to special needs trusts. But we think the top 7, not only from a tax perspective does it explain it, it explains it how it operates. And most importantly, if you've never done your planning, get this, learn which trust might be right for you before you go in to see the estate planning attorney. And if you've already done your planning like Mark, maybe get this and learn how shifting from a revocable to an irrevocable might be right for you. 866-848-5699 or legalexchangeshow.com. Again, 866-848-5699 or legalexchangeshow.com.
Todd, we've got another one queued up for you here. Let's go to Mike on the Cape. Mike, what is your question for Todd Lutsky?
Mr. Lutsky, I'm a 78-year-old, and my wife is 69. We have property, and we have a few $100,000 in the bank, but my wife refuses to get a trust or a will. I don't know what to do about it. I've tried for a couple of years now, and I'm not getting any younger, so I'm not sure what to do. If you've got any answers for me, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, so that is a complicated situation, right? Because when clients come in, and I've had a few of these, not many, but when clients come in, I always say I want both clients. Sometimes like a husband or a wife will come in, and they'll say, "Oh, my spouse is not interested in this. She'll just do, or he'll just do whatever we decide to do." Or, and if that's the case, I always tell them, you know what? I really want to have the meeting with both people here. Why? Because it's not about numbers. It's not about taxes. It's not about probate. While it is about those things, it's really about the family behind the estate plan. And I need to understand what their wishes are and who they want to be, and not only who they want to be fiduciaries, but also to understand how a trust works when one person passes away, because the other one might be the survivor, and they need to know how it works. So I generally want both there. Now, that said, in your case, you sometimes get people who just don't want to participate. That doesn't mean that you can't do an estate plan for yourself. As long as we know we're only representing one party, we can do that. You can come in and you can set up a trust or a will. Again, you probably need more than just a will, and at least deal with the assets that you have access to, or your half, or, and get some of the stuff in the trust. And remember, we're not going to disinherit your spouse, but to the extent possible, you can provide for your spouse through your own estate plan. So I'm going to say you could probably do estate planning for at least some of the assets and try to take care of you, your family, and your spouse, even though your spouse isn't technically participating in that plan. So that might be a way to look at that.
Todd, earlier we had talked a little bit about the idea of, hey, do you update your estate plan if you have an imminent long-term care situation? I think we covered that decently well. But
yeah,
as far as what else you can consider if you have an imminent long-term care situation, what are other options that might be on the table for people depending on the situation they find themselves in?
So if we're looking at, this is last minute again?
Yes.
So if you're looking at last minute, the pooled trust idea is really the way to go when you're older and annuities don't work. Short of that, if you're married, and this is an important part of the pooled trust, if you're married, you likely will never do the pooled trust. Why? Because if you're married, you're likely going to have that one spouse at home. And if that spouse is at home, now we have options because that spouse can have all the excess resources. So if you're faced with nursing home planning and you have a spouse at home, you can take all the excess money over $148,000 and change for the healthy spouse and $2,000 for the sick spouse. So the first $150,000 of assets you can reach in, take out, and give to the healthy spouse. The excess, regardless of how much it is allowed to come over to that spouse. We wouldn't need the pooled trust. We instead would buy a Medicaid annuity for the healthy spouse, converts those assets into an income stream for the spouse, thereby taking what once was a countable asset and making it non-countable by converting it into a stream of payments, a stream of income that they get. And that technique would allow the sick spouse to become eligible for Medicaid right away. So that's when you use a pooled trust and when you would not use one.
Mr. Lutsky, thank you so much for joining us today.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
This has been Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Ask Todd with Todd Lutsky has been presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 30 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Call 800-393-4001 or visit CushingDolan.com. The views expressed in this segment are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Armstrong Advisory does not provide any legal or tax advice. Please consult with your legal or tax advisor on such matters. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Still a bunch more to come as we head towards the second hour of the show, including we'll talk a little bit about what is going on with restaurants and how they're trying to navigate the slowdown in the economy. Also, a little bit of an update on mortgages and whether we're seeing any uptick now that mortgage rates have come down, if there's additional mortgages that are being underwritten. And finally, not finally, we have a lot to get through, but we will talk a little bit about this Biden administration proposal on Chinese vehicles and Chinese software in vehicles and what it may mean heading forward for the auto industry. All that and more coming up in hour two.
Despite overwhelming support from Democrats and Republicans, time is running out for Congress to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act, which will keep AM radio in cars. Text AM to 52886 and ask Congress to bring this bill to a vote now. AM radio is too important to let this moment pass us by.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Summer is coming to an end, so it's time to take out your planner and book a spectacular vacation in the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John are 3 of the most incredible islands anywhere in the Caribbean, and their popularity is at an all-time high. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip that you'll never forget. If you act fast, you can still celebrate New Year's on St. Croix and enjoy the St. Croix Crucian Festival from December 26th through January 4th. Enjoy world-class cuisine, pristine beaches, a wide variety of water sports, and some of the greatest musical acts the islands have to offer. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free, because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport needed and no money to exchange. Fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands on your trip to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and make your plans today. That's visitusvi.com.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
Every single day, more than 2,000 U.S. companies face a cyber threat or attack. The Boston Red Sox in Fenway Park chose Centripetal as their official cyber network security partner to ensure the protection of their network and ballpark. Intelligence is the answer to protecting your network, and Centripetal is the global leader of intelligence-powered cybersecurity. The choice is yours. Are you going to be another one of those attacked companies? Or are you ready to experience a radical new cybersecurity solution? Find out why the Red Sox chose Centripetal at www.centripetal.ai. Trusts are essential documents that can help protect your assets from the nursing home. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and get their free guide called Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. Let them help determine which is right for you. That's 866-848-5699 or request the guide online by visiting their website at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM. Concord, Boston, the Money Matters Radio Network.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide available this month titled Frequently Asked Questions About RMDs. Mike, one of the places where there's been a huge change in the last few years is with regards to inherited IRAs and whether individuals are required to take money out of them on an annual basis. What is the latest guidance from the IRS?
Well, the latest guidance is that it still depends. It depends on so much and so many complicating factors. Were you married at the time that you passed away? What's the age difference between you and the person who passed away? Are you older or younger? When did the person pass away? I could go on at length here, Chuck, but there are a lot of complicating factors. But generally speaking, yes, you are going to be subject to a required minimum distribution in most cases when you inherit a retirement.
And for someone who is inheriting a retirement account from someone other than a spouse, there also is this 10-year period with which you must exhaust the account completely, so you're going to have to end up having all of that come out as taxable income, even if your RMDs don't satisfy that 10-year requirement.
Yeah, they really like to complicate this, and so you've got two competing formulas in there at all times about what you have to do with a retirement account that's inherited. Really, really complicated stuff, Joe.
It's a really complex issue. If you like to learn more about this topic, the guide again is titled Frequently Asked Questions About RMDs, and the way to request it is by calling 800-393-4001. That guide again is titled Frequently Asked Questions About RMDs, and the phone number is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Are you retired like me and you just found out you owe the IRS a ton of money? Well, what would your life be like if they took your retirement savings away from you? They can do it, and your property. If you owe the IRS back taxes or you haven't filed in a while, the tax relief line is here to help you. They can stop the IRS from taking your retirement savings. If you qualify, you could have your tax bill reduced to zero. That's right. If you're retired and you owe the IRS a lot in back taxes, you could have your entire tax bill reduced to zero due. The IRS has now hired thousands of new employees, so they're ready to come after you. Don't let them take your retirement savings or property. Make this free call now.
800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. That's 800-251-2153.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hughes. This Veterans Day weekend, help honor all who've served our country and join WBZ for the annual DAV 5K, a run or walk to support disabled vets here in Massachusetts with housing, transportation, and other critical support. Saturday, November 9th at DCR's Castle Island in South Boston. Let's thank all who have sacrificed for our freedom and help our heroes on their road to recovery. Visit DAV5K.Boston to register or donate today.
The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation.
Protecting your assets is your most important financial responsibility, and irrevocable trusts can help you. Keep your assets safe from probate and the nursing home by calling Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699. Get their new guide called Unlocking the Power of Irrevocable Medicaid Trusts. That's 866-848-5699, or request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org, CancerSupportMass.org.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting DAV5K.Boston and making a donation today. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane.
Chuck, Paul, and Tucker with you, and markets not doing anything. It's, you guys ever read XKCD, the, comic that's online?
Nope.
There's a good one there where, guy's sitting there with a stick and he's poking this thing and he's going, do something. It's what this market's like this week. It's just not really doing much of anything. And look, that's not bad if you're someone who's benefited from the run-up in equities over the last almost 12 months. We're up almost 40% on the S&P 500 since mid-October of last year. If you're someone who's benefited during that time, you might be like, yeah, I'm cool with it just hanging out here. It doesn't need to go anywhere else right now as long as it doesn't go down again. And so you got the S&P 500 up 1 point today. The Dow's off 130. The Nasdaq's up 58. So just kind of treading water at this point. I will also point out that at this point, with 3.5 days left in trading for the month, the S&P 500 is still up more than 2% for the month, despite the pieces that were published after the first 3 days of trading, suggesting that September was going to be another very bad September for equities. Granted, I know this can still go the other way in the next 3.5 days because markets can move quickly, but when you publish pieces saying, hey, we've had 3 bad days in the market and that means September is going to be a bad month, and then it doesn't turn out to be the bad month, you're going to get called out for being kind of the scammy grifter that you are.
I think that's a little harsh.
No, it's not. We had another one earlier this year. It was January 5th, I think it was. There were 3 down days to start the year.
Worst days of the year in 2024?
I don't remember if it was Bloomberg, the Wall Street Journal, or CNBC, but one of them had this whole piece that was published about, hey, when the market does badly in the first 3 days, it means that the year is going to be bad. And honestly, when you publish crap like that, you deserve to be called a scammy grifter because that just doesn't mean anything about what's actually going to happen.
Yeah, sure, but I wasn't against. In general, I'm against that sentiment where you look at CNBC, worst day in since 2022, or all these outlandish headlines that they use. I mean, that's the business that they're in, right? They want to grab your attention. You can't just put a headline on CNBC. Stock's not moving this week, very boring week, then no one's going to click on it. So I get your frustration with that. The September statistics, though, I did find interesting, where there was a referendum on, hey, actually there's statistical proof that September tends to be the weakest stock month. That commentary I did enjoy. And that's why I'm pushing back on the slimy grifters, because I actually did enjoy that commentary.
So it's one thing to say before the month, hey, September tends to be a bad month for stocks.
You're saying the reactionary deal.
The problem that I have are the ones where it's, hey, let me pull up the piece. I just have to get it here just because, again, I want to make sure that I call it out properly when I do this. Let's see. Nope, it's not that one. Where is it going to be? I'll dig it up just because, again, it was notable to me. Here we go. It was on September 9th, after the first 4 trading days of September, because the first week of September was shortened because of Labor Day. Quote, September is once again a tough month for stocks. Okay, well, let's wait till... My point was, hey, let's wait till September. And it even says, look, going back to 1928, the S&P 500 has declined an average of 1.2% in September, the weakest month of the year for stocks.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. Okay, that's great that you have it there. But then you have this whole thing. I'm trying to find the part that I really that really bothered me. Despite the market's recent slide, it still looks expensive by some measures. Companies are trading 21 times their projected earnings over the next 12 months, above their 10-year average multiple of 18. And it's this whole piece about, hey, September's in the red, and this is the norm for September. Okay, well, it's September 25th now, and September's not in the red. Why'd you write this piece after 4 days of trading? Like, that's the problem, is someone writes this, and yes, I know that they have to write something, but, like, we have a show to do every day also, and we don't resort to stuff like this that then influences people to make decisions based on incomplete information.
Right.
Like, we do a show every single day, and not once have you ever heard us come in and, big first... Because, again, this was, like, front page in the Journal business section. Well, the whole Journal's the business section. But you get what I'm saying. We never come in and say, hey, this happened and you need to, sell everything. Or this happened and you need to... Because that's not how it works. And especially, we don't quote incomplete information. You can't quote September returns after 4 days.
That's very fair.
Because this piece, it can't be published now. The piece if the month ended today, which it hasn't, which is why you don't publish it today, the headline could be, hey, September, normally a tough month for stocks, not so bad through the first, 25 days of the month, actually. Which I know doesn't sell anything, but, you don't have to get into all this stuff. The other one that we did, it was at the beginning of the year. Let me get to this because, again, this stuff just bothers me because people do make trading decisions based on this and investment decisions based on these pieces, which we tell them, hey, if you're making an investment decision based on one piece, you need a better investment strategy. But there's other stuff that was in here. Here we go. We've got this one. This is from January 4th of this year. Major indices have pulled back in the first 3 sessions after ending 2023 with a bang. The S&P is down 1.7%. Its worst start to the year since 2016. The Dow,
I love those. That's great.
The Dow is down 0.7 and the NASDAQ is down 3.3. Okay. They quote an investment strategist here. If January is positive, that's investors putting money to work. They're telling the Federal Reserve that the economy and the companies they're investing in, that they think they can grow for the year. And the first month is typically strong for stocks. A phenomenon known as the January effect. Another theory suggests that investors have more cash to put to work in markets in January after receiving their year-end bonuses. And then it goes on to talk about, hey, this could, be this early year slump that doesn't portend well for markets. And it's like, guys, it's been 3 days of the year. and you're saying that we need to be nervous because January could be bad. And guess what? January wasn't bad this year. Like, that's the worst part of it. They talk about, this January effect that you need to watch out for. And stocks were up in January.
Not to mention they were up 24, 25% in the year of 2023. So you're coming off the heels of, if you participated in the full year prior, you were up 25% if you had the market.
It's always like, everyone always gets a kick out of being bearish because it makes you sound smart. But the fact is, if you're actually investing in stocks over the time frame that you're supposed to, which is the long term, being bearish is pretty much the worst consistent investment strategy that you can have. There are times to go against the herd and everything, but it's just the bearishness that comes out when we have 3 bad days to start the year or 4 bad days to start September. Oh, gee, this is the September that they warned us about. It bothers me because I see people who read that stuff and they're like, yep, I've got to trade based on what I saw there. And it just feeds into the whole idea of, hey, the real money, if you look at where the real money's made in markets, I say this quite a bit, it's in the flow. It's in being the company that's actually handling the transactions. It's not in, hey, I need to invest in this or invest in that. And all these pieces do, in my opinion, is convince people to do one thing or the other, when in fact, most of the time, the best thing for them to do is absolutely nothing because they have no edge.
Do you have a folder of articles that you put in your kind of grind your gears folder that you look at for set occasions?
Not like this. I should have one for this, quite honestly. I build up my Festivus folder over the course of the year, but that's more just for
fun.
Companies. Well, we do Festivus at the end of the year.
Oh no, I know.
And that's more for stories that are just more humorous. Than ones that really bother me. Sometimes you get humorous ones that do really bother me. Like the Bloomberg one from, was that last year or the year before, Tucker?
I think it was last year, yeah.
The Bloomberg one that said, hey, the best way to deal with inflation is to let your pet die.
Oh, gosh.
It literally was like, hey, if you can't, pay all of your bills right now, maybe you should skip out on going to the vet the next time your pet gets sick.
It is expensive.
And it was like, wow, I didn't realize we were going there. Like that.
See ya, Fluffy.
That just got really aggressive.
A lot
really
of pet
quickly.
chatter over the last 12 plus months.
There has been. So now that we've covered that for the entire first segment, we're going to take a break, and then Corey Adams from Robert Half is going to join us, talking about this burgeoning battle about employees returning to the office. That's ramping up, and so we'll talk to him right after this.
Tune in for Trivia, brought to you by Applebee's. Every day at 11:20 for your chance to win cool prizes. Text us at 617-362-1385 and use keyword Applebee's. Complete rules are available at financialexchangeshow.com. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
If you're approaching or have recently reached the age of 73, required minimum distributions should be a key consideration as you evaluate your retirement strategy. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. There are several factors to think about when it comes to RMDs, including the types of accounts that require RMDs, when to take your withdrawals, how your RMD is calculated, and the penalty for missing all or part of an RMD. That's what our new guide this month is all about. It's called Frequently Asked Questions About Required Minimum Distributions, and you can get your copy today by calling 800-393-4001. RMDs are a key part of your retirement strategy, so don't delay. Get your guide today by calling 800-393-4001. That number one more time, 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Summer is coming to an end, so it's time to take out your planner and book a spectacular vacation in the U.S. Virgin Islands, America's Caribbean paradise. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John are 3 of the most incredible islands anywhere in the Caribbean, and their popularity is at an all-time high. Go to visitusvi.com and check out the American Caribbean, where you'll find all the information you need to book a trip that you'll never forget. If you act fast, you can still celebrate New Year's on St. Croix and enjoy the St. Croix Crucian Festival from December 26th through January 4th. Enjoy world-class cuisine, pristine beaches, a wide variety of water sports, and some of the greatest musical acts the islands have to offer. Travel to and from New England is simple, and your stay will be hassle-free because this is the American Caribbean. There's no passport needed and no money to exchange. Fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands on your trip to America's Caribbean paradise. Go to visitusvi.com and make your plans today. That's visitusvi.com.
Congress is poised to pass a bill to keep AM radio in cars, but time is running out. 82 million Americans risk losing the news, sports, talk, traffic, and vital emergency information they rely on. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to pass this bill now.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to STOP.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on
And we're proud to have him back as the presenting sponsor of the 2024 DAV 5K Boston.
I'm a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts. The DAV does incredible work, and it was one of the first organizations I became familiar with after my military service ended in 1984. As I built my company, Veterans Development Corporation, I did it knowing that I'd be giving back to fellow vets who need jobs, support services, medical supplies, and much more. I work with disabled veterans every day and is one of the key reasons why I'm such a big supporter of Dan Stack and the Disabled American Veterans, Department of Massachusetts, in this year's DAV 5K Boston. Please join me in supporting this tremendous cause by taking part in this year's event or by making a donation to the DAV.
Veterans Development Corporation is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
This is your home for the most comprehensive coverage of the economy and the trends on Wall Street. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you in part by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. The U.S. Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Summer is over, so now's the time to start looking at a fabulous holiday vacation, and there's no better place than the U.S. Virgin Islands. Enjoy perfect weather, world-class dining, incredible beaches, and a vibrant nightlife. No passport is needed, and there's no money to exchange. Take your next vacation in America's Caribbean paradise, the United States Virgin Islands. Go to visitusvi.com to book your trip. That's visitusvi.com.
As promised, we are joined by Corey Adams from Robert Half, who just put out a piece regarding the return to office battle. Corey, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Amazon made headlines, Corey, over the course of the last week or so when they announced that they were going to haul all their employees back into the office 5 days a week effective January 2nd, and really made a public display of making this a mandate and something that they felt was very important. But here in your piece, you cover that there is still a semblance of quite a bit of hybrid and remote work throughout the New England area and the rest of the country. What were some of the biggest takeaways that you had from the piece that you guys put together regarding remote work, Corey?
Sure. So research for the mid-year update, as you referenced, for Robert Half's Demand for Skilled Talent report found that 37% of U.S. job seekers are interested in fully remote positions, while 60% would like a hybrid role. 31% of workers planning to look for a new role in the second half of this year, or those who are currently looking, went on to say that the desire for more flexibility is their primary driver or motivator to look for a new job. And then in the same survey, 38% of workers who aren't looking at all in this moment went on to say that they're not looking because they do not want to lose the flexibility that they currently have. And then the last kind of key finding, and I'll put a little bit of a local perspective on this, and I think this is really encouraging. Massachusetts was amongst the states with the highest number of newly created hybrid jobs in Q2 of this year at 26%, and that's up 16% from the same period last year in 2023. However, Massachusetts is also on the low number side of being fully remote jobs reported at 8%.
It seems like the hybrid is the sweet spot that most employees are clamoring for. One of the things that we've been monitoring quite closely is the state of the labor market in general. Obviously, we were in the golden age for employees over the course of the last couple of years with tremendous wage growth and very low unemployment around 3.5%. Today, we sit at 4.2%. And I just wonder, Corey, one of the thoughts that I had is that as the pendulum is shifting back towards the employer and unemployment creeps up, have you seen in any of the data any evidence that there are more employees trending to going in office, or what has that migration looked like in the other direction as people coming back to the office? Do you have any insights there?
Yeah, so let's just take a national look at this for a moment. So new fully in-office job postings actually declined in 2023 by 14%. Now, at the end of 2023, the analysis went on to show that 69% of job postings were for fully on-site roles. And that held steady in the first quarter of this year. Now, in Q2, which is when the survey was conducted, the figure fell to 67%. So you've got this dynamic happening nationwide, at least. You're seeing a decrease right now for in-office 5 days a week, but you're also seeing a decrease for fully remote. And then the juxtaposition of that is you're seeing the rise and increase of hybrid. So I basically think it's safe to say that the flexible work model across the U.S. is currently shifting to hybrid.
It does seem like that is the case. Perhaps Amazon just stands out as an anomaly here in this sector. This is Corey Adams from Robert Half. Corey, thanks so much for taking the time today to speak with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul. Always a pleasure. Have a good week.
All right, time for trivia here on the Financial Exchange, and it's brought to you by Applebee's. Take your friends or family to any area Applebee's and enjoy half-price late-night appetizers after 9 p.m., including boneless wings, spinach and artichoke dip, and warm pretzels dipped in beer cheese. And don't forget to join Club Applebee's to enjoy exclusive deals and specials. You'll get a free appetizer just for signing up. Now, that's eating good in the neighborhood. Void where prohibited. Dine in only. Well, on this date in 1981, the first woman was sworn in as a U.S. Supreme Court justice. There have only been 6 women to serve as a U.S. Supreme Court justice. 4 are currently serving. Trivia question today: who was the first woman U.S. Supreme Court justice? Once again, who was the first woman U.S. Supreme Court justice? Be the 7th person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer. You can win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt, brand new, by the way, and be registered to win a $100 gift card to Applebee's. Be sure to include the keyword Applebee's in your text, and we'll give away that Applebee's gift card on Friday's show. 617-362-1385, and the 7th correct response will be our winner. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Paul, you familiar with Google?
Yes, I am.
So they're probably one of the 4 biggest tech companies on the planet, and they filed an EU antitrust complaint accusing Microsoft of anti-competitive practices as it relates to cloud services. And what's interesting to me about this is not whether or not there's any merit to it, because I have absolutely no idea. What's interesting to me is that Google filed it in the first place because...
Pot calling the kettle black?
Well, it seems to me, just based on my basic understanding of how Google's business operates, and I don't know, maybe the 2 different antitrust cases that have been brought against them in the U.S. recently, that maybe they're not really... I don't know, maybe poking Microsoft this way isn't the best thing for them, because I'm sure Microsoft has loads of data that they can say, okay, you think we're anti-competitive here? Fine, we're going to file over search in the EU because of reasons X, Y, and Z, and now you've got to deal with this as well, and we'll just, rack up legal costs for each other.
What was their search engine? Bing? Is that Microsoft's one?
That tells you how well Microsoft is doing, yes.
Yeah. I was about to Google what is Microsoft's search engine.
You should Bing it.
That's where they sit at this point. That was the most amusing takeaway that I had too, is that Google is out there throwing their weight around the antitrust pool where they often swim in that same pool themselves. EU is the best place to do it. We'll see how that lawsuit transpires here.
So that's the latest between these two tech companies. And again, I have no idea if what Google is alleging has any merit, but I don't know. Generally, when you're anti-competitive, it's best not to accuse other people of being anti-competitive too. Quick break. Trivia answers next.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org. CancerSupportMass.org.
We are the Debt Destroyer Network. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt, call now for free information that helps you destroy your debt. It's great advice. Plus, when you make this free call now, we have Debt Destroyer experts ready to help. They can show you how to destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help slash your debt. Call the Debt Destroyer now for free information. Call now. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. Again, that's 800-430-8804.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Last year, we introduced you to Mark Vaughter, CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, and we're proud to have him back as the presenting sponsor of the 2024 DAV 5K Boston.
I joined the Marine Corps when I was 18 and served proudly from 1981 to 1984. As CEO of Veterans Development Corporation, my goal is to give back to the veteran community, many of whom are employees of this company. This is one of the reasons I am so excited to be partnering with the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts on this year's DAV 5K Boston. The DAV works tirelessly to support many of our disabled veterans and provide them access to critical services that help them live comfortably every day. I hope to be part of many more success stories of our vets being able to achieve their goals and dreams when their service ends.
Veterans Development Corporation is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today, we're talking about your new guide, Todd, demystifying the top 7 estate planning trusts. Now, do you lose control if you transfer your assets to an irrevocable trust in order to protect them from long-term care expenses?
Well, you know, that's great when you mention that irrevocable trust, but limit it to the kind of trust where you're protecting it from the cost of long-term care. Because as the guide says, there's 7 different kinds of trusts that we're trying to demystify. And there's also many kinds of irrevocable trusts out there, not just one type. So many people think there's just one type. But this particular type, where you're trying to protect it from the cost of long-term care expenses, the answer is no. You do not lose control over your assets. There's a whole spectrum of control with irrevocable trusts. And this one, you keep about 95% control. Like, you can live in your house, you can sell your house, you can buy another house, you can invest your money, you can manage your money, you can collect the income. Even the tax liability of these trusts are designed to be at your own rate. In other words, they are grantor trusts. You don't even pay any higher income taxes when you have this irrevocable trust. So this kind of trust, folks, you keep control, and you protect your assets from the cost of long-term care.
Call right now for your free copy of Cushing & Dolan's comprehensive guide titled Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. It will help you determine what type of trust is right for you and your family. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it from LegalExchangeShow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Miss any of the show? The Financial Exchange Show podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, trivia question today was, who was the first woman's U.S. Supreme Court Justice? Well, that would be Sandra Day O'Connor. Winner today of the Financial Exchange Show t-shirt was Tom from Georgetown, Mass. And Tom's also registered to win a $100 gift card to Applebee's, which we'll give away on Friday's show. And trivia is brought to you by Applebee's. Enjoy half-price late-night appetizers after 9 p.m. and join Club Applebee's to enjoy exclusive deals and specials. You'll get a free appetizer just for signing up. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood. Void where prohibited. Dine in only.
Let's talk a little bit about restaurants here. There's a piece in Bloomberg Opinion. Headline is, restaurant customers aren't tapped out, they're just bored. Your thoughts on the piece and what it says, Paul?
It was an interesting piece here, basically breaking down a group of restaurants that have really struggled post-pandemic. Obviously, there was a surge when restaurants reopened, but they've struggled over the last couple years compared to others in the fast casual space that have done a little bit better. So basically, sort of pinning Chipotle, whose stock is up 246% since 2019, against some of its, I wouldn't say necessarily direct competitor peers, but swimming in the same sort of space, Darden Restaurants, Applebee's, Outback, and Denny's, other sort of casual sit-down restaurants that all are trading below their 2019 levels and have struggled quite a bit. And basically what this Bloomberg piece is outlining is that those restaurants, Olive Garden and others, have failed to innovate the way that Chipotle has. And I've been trying to rack my brain and think, Chuck, it just seems like they're in that middle ground that isn't very appealing at this point in time when I think about my own personal dining habits, where either if you're looking for something that's kind of a casual meal, you're kind of skewing to the pickup delivery side of things. But if I really want to go out to eat, I kind of want to do it on the nicer end of things, you know, have a couple drinks with my wife and have a good time when I go out. And that middle tier section that Olive Garden kind of falls in is just not as appealing. And I wonder if that's the reason why they've seen sort of a cut down in traffic and sales growth there.
So I guess the question that I would have on something like that is, why now? Because that's always been the case. Like, you've always had kind of, okay, you get cheaper options. You know, the fast casual places have always been around. The high-end places have always been around. But there's always been this, you know, middle area for the Applebee's and Cracker Barrels and those of the world. So why are they, like, what specifically is making people view them differently now? Because that was a very successful business model for a long time. And just the idea that, hey, there, you know, people are bored with going out to dinner. I don't know that does enough to get me there, because we're still seeing very much increased spending on travel and things like that. You look at, you know, TSA throughput, and it still is setting all new records. Airlines have said, look, like, we're seeing some weakening demand in the future, but hey, overall, you're still seeing all kinds of spending on travel and all that stuff. So it's not just services-related spending in general declining. And so I can't make heads or tails of, like, the exact reason, but just, like, people have gotten sick of these places. Why'd they get sick of them now? Why not 10 years ago or 20 or why today? I
wonder if the innovation on the Chipotle side of things, or all those restaurants where their product is just so much easier to obtain now, whether it's pickup through their mobile app, delivery options through Uber Eats, whether that just makes them so much easier to grab that there's not a need to really go to this middle tier. And again, I'm spitballing here. The excuse that they've leaned on the most, the Olive Gardens of the world, is that their lower income consumer or their lower income patron that they typically make the most of their money on, they've cut back significantly in spending. But that does run in the face, as you mentioned, that services spending in general has kept up pace pretty well. So it's an interesting debate to me, and it's not really exactly pinpointing the direct reason, but everyone has their theories as to what's going on there.
Folks, want to let you know that the Armstrong Advisory Group is hosting 2 different seminars this fall. The first is coming up in just a couple weeks at the MGM Hotel in Springfield. It's on Tuesday, October 8th. We'll be broadcasting from the hotel, which is connected right to the casino, and there's free parking in the MGM lot. All you do is take the elevator down to the casino floor, short walk to the hotel from there. So that's on October 8th. The next one is at the Margarita Hotel and Resort in Hyannis. That's on October 24th, so about a month from now. And that's going to have Ed Lambert, host of the WXTK Morning Show, joining us there as well. In both cases, you join us for a live broadcast of the Financial Exchange, followed by an educational lunch with the Armstrong Advisory Group. What are we going to be talking about? Maybe the upcoming presidential election, maybe the policies that each candidate have proposed, and what effect those policies might have on the current economic landscape. We'll also talk a little bit about potential market volatility and how that may influence decision-making going forward. You can sign up for either of these events, the one nearest you, the one farthest, whichever one you want to go to, by visiting armstrongadvisory.com/events. That's armstrongadvisory.com/events. Just fill out the form associated with the event that you'd like to attend. And again, that is armstrongadvisory.com/events.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Piece of the New York Times, sticking with the restaurant topic here. Restaurant portions are about to get smaller. Are Americans ready? And basically what this is talking about is that, look, portion sizing's gotten a little bit out of control. I mean, how many times do you go and you say, okay, I'm getting a burger at this place, and it comes with literally a mountain of fries so big that you couldn't hold them all with 2 hands if you tried to? And I'll be honest, I view it as a personal challenge to try to eat every one of those fries. I might not think that as I'm sitting down. I might say, well, I'll just eat a few of them, but as long as they're on my plate, I'm going to keep eating, is basically where I end up.
That's the biggest mental hurdle that I had to overcome, is that I'm of the same mindset where whenever I go out to a restaurant, you view it as kind of a special occasion, you're out of the house, and what's on my plate, I'm paying for it, or someone's paying for it, I want to get the most out of this meal, I've got to clear my plate. And what that resulted in for years was terrible stomach aches because I overdid it. And I still, even we were out to dinner this past weekend, my wife with the kids, where we're trying to get in and out quickly, I still found myself kind of kicking myself that we ordered more food than we ultimately consumed. And it backs up waste studies that they've done that 40% of restaurant foods, according to a study in 2020, get discarded because their portion sizes are so big and you don't consume it the whole time. So it's a problem that I agree with, that it is very standard in most American restaurants. And according to a 2024 National Restaurant Association survey, 75% of us out there, Americans, want smaller portions for less money.
Now, I don't think this means we're going to get, one French fry or anything like that. But the whole premise of this piece is one of the major forces that is reshaping the restaurant industry is restaurants trying to stay cost competitive because of inflation in their supply costs the last couple of years. Hey, if you can just shrink the number of French fries that you give, things like that, okay, you got ways that you can potentially figure out how to manage your pricing and still maintain fair value. Now, there are, in any restaurant, you talk to any restaurant owner, chef, or anyone who knows the business side of a restaurant, they'll tell you, look, there are certain items that are higher margin than others, okay?
Pizza.
I was going Caesar salad with it.
Pizza's out of control right now.
From what perspective? The margin?
Pricing.
The pricing? So I had a buddy of mine who lives in New York text me the other day. It was like he was complaining about how expensive pizza is. And I'm like, okay, like send me the pricing that you're getting. And this was not from like crazy high-end place. It wasn't Domino's, but it was, it was a good middle of the... It was like $28 for a large pizza in New York.
Wow.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, my goodness. Like...
That's a lot.
That's a lot for a pizza. I'm not saying it needs to be $10 because I understand that it's not 1993 anymore. But I don't know. It feels to me like you start getting a pizza north of $19-20 and you're kind of like, this better be a really good pizza.
Right.
Like this better be life-changing. And most of the time it's pizza. It's just what it is. But in any case, so you've got economics that are kind of weighing on things. You also have the rise of these GLP-1 drugs that are now, causing a bunch of Americans to lose weight. I say causing like it's a bad thing. They're losing weight because of these, and the reason why is it depresses their appetite. Well, if that's the case, you don't go into a restaurant looking for the same portion size that you used to have, and do restaurants adjust as a result of that by offering some smaller portion sizes that are available and things like that. So I think we're at this really interesting junction where a combination of a few factors could reshape how big meal sizes are at sit-down restaurants. And I'll be honest, like it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out and how that affects the balance of how these businesses operate over the next 5 to 7 years here.
Definitely.
Let's take a quick break-a-rooney. When we come back, it's time for Stack Roulette.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Like our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Last year, we introduced you to Mark Vaughter, CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, and we're proud to have him back as the presenting sponsor of the 2024 DAV 5K Boston.
I joined the Marine Corps when I was 18 and served proudly from 1981 to 1984. As CEO of Veterans Development Corporation, my goal is to give back to the veteran community, many of whom are employees of this company. This is one of the reasons I am so excited to be partnering with the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts on this year's DAV 5K Boston. The DAV works tirelessly to support many of our disabled veterans and provide them access to critical services that help them live comfortably every day. I hope to be part of many more success stories of our vets being able to achieve their goals and dreams when their service ends.
Veterans Development Corporation is proud to be the presenting sponsor of this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org. CancerSupportMass.org.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
If you're approaching or have recently reached the age of 73, required minimum distributions should be a key consideration as you evaluate your retirement strategy. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. There are several factors to think about when it comes to RMDs, including the types of accounts that require RMDs, when to take your withdrawals, how your RMD is calculated, and the penalty for missing all or part of an RMD. That's what our new guide this month is all about. It's called Frequently Asked Questions About Required Minimum Distributions, and you can get your copy today by calling 800-393-4001. RMDs are a key part of your retirement strategy, so don't delay. Get your guide today by calling 800-393-4001. That number one more time, 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisor advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Every single day, more than 2,000 U.S. companies face a cyber threat or attack. The Boston Red Sox in Fenway Park chose Centripetal as their official cyber network security partner to ensure the protection of their network and ballpark. Intelligence is the answer to protecting your network, and Centripetal is the global leader of intelligence-powered cybersecurity. The choice is yours. Are you going to be another one of those attacked companies? Or are you ready to experience a radical new cybersecurity solution? Find out why the Red Sox chose Centripetal at www.centripetal.ai. Trusts are essential documents that can help protect your assets from the nursing home. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and get their free guide called Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. Let them help determine which is right for you. That's 866-848-5699 or request the guide online by visiting their website at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Business and financial news affecting the markets and your wallet. We've got it all straight from Wall Street right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange has built an incredible partnership with the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We can't wait to take part in this year's DAV 5K, set for Saturday, November 9th at Fort Independence on Castle Island, and registration's now open. You can help our great American heroes by walking, running, or simply making a donation. Your gifts will support services such as the Veteran Advancement Program, which offers permanent and affordable housing opportunities for veterans and their dependents. Learn more at DAV5K.Boston. The DAV 5K Boston is presented by Veterans Development Corporation.
Paul, what do you have for me for Stack Roulette?
Chuck, we'll kick it off with the CEO of Novo Nordisk was grilled yesterday by the Senate regarding weight loss drug pricing. Novo Nordisk is famously behind Ozempic as well as Wegovy, I believe is the pronunciation, though I've heard it pronounced other ways. But regardless, you know what I'm talking about, weight loss drugs. And the focus of this Senate meeting was to grill him on the weight loss drug pricing. Novo Nordisk's Ozempic drug retails for, I believe, around $1,300 a month, or $969 for Ozempic and $1350 for Wegovy in the United States. And in many other countries out there, you can get it for much lower than that, in the hundreds of dollars a month, whether you're talking about Germany or others out there. And while I would agree that the sticker price is high, the crux of the issue comes back to just how convoluted and messed up our system is on the healthcare side of things, where you have the manufacturer, Novo Nordisk, going with a list price of that $1,000 a month. Then you have the PBMs, the pharmacy benefit managers, that are charged of negotiating against that list price. And then you have the health insurance provider. And those three people are all taking a cut at some point in time during that transaction, which leads to these exorbitant list prices in order to get to the end consumer. And so nothing was really resolved as a result of this meeting, but it certainly is something that is in the headlines because it's surged in popularity as it tries to address obesity in this country, which there's a large market to hit.
Yeah, look, I don't have any unique insight on drug pricing or how it should or shouldn't work. I don't know. The piece that most people, I think, look at and object to is that difference in cost between what it is in the United States and in other economies that are similar in nature. Again, the UK and Germany, I think you'd classify as, pretty similar in terms of their developed countries without, too much overall economic growth, and you see the pricing that they're getting. And so you sit there and you're like, okay, why is the list price so much higher? And the answer is, well, the U.S. healthcare system is basically combining the worst parts of the private and public sector into something that makes it just this albatross that you can't really figure out how it works or change in any meaningful fashion. It's just kind of gross. How do we fix it? I have no idea. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, we got to. I don't know. There's a bunch of smart people that look at this, and they have yet to figure out the best things that we can do on it. What I can tell you is what we're doing is probably not the answer. And most of the criticisms that I think tend to be valid are, as you mentioned, hey, there's a bunch of middlemen that get rid of transparency in pricing and take a cut for themselves. And if you were to streamline that whole process, you'd, I think, have a better ability to actually get the kind of pricing that you want to see with more transparency and fewer profits being taken in the middle by people that don't really do anything in terms of actually affecting health outcomes.
It'll be interesting to see what happens when Medicare goes up to negotiate with Novo Nordisk and whether or not to cover Ozempic. That should be done in 2025, and the price changes, if any, or if they cover it, would go into effect in 27. So interesting to see what happens there.
Piece in the New York Times. The Biden administration has announced a sweeping initiative to ban Chinese-developed software from internet-connected cars in the United States, justifying this on national security grounds. And this is basically something that, look, we've talked about quite a bit in terms of the potential for espionage, on American citizens through backdoors that lead to the Chinese military. And so the Biden administration proposing this, whether or not it actually makes it into effect and how watered down it is and how strong it is, I think remains to be seen. But look, this is something that is a major concern for me in terms of the ability of the Chinese military to potentially access information about the mobility and transportation of all Americans, but in particular those with access to classified or sensitive technology and who might work in areas that make them vulnerable to potential espionage. And so this is something that I view as welcome, but I don't know how strong it's going to be because it still is just a proposal and we don't have the final rules and what kind of carve-outs might exist in here.
Yeah, I think it's important to make the point that this is a national security concern rather than the tariffs assessed on the EVs exportation from China, which I believe it's 100% tariff on any EVs coming from China. It's not something that really there was any cars prior to that tariff being in place, being imported, that were electrical vehicles from China. But this is more focused on not because of the trade or economic advantage. It's all about national security. And it's something that I can certainly get behind too. And many others should be in a similar boat where you just don't want any way for them to leverage any sort of espionage practices in place if this were to proliferate Chinese software through our vehicles.
Taking a look at markets as we head towards the top of the hour, the Dow is off 217 points, about 0.5%. S&P 500 is down 5 points, 0.1%, and the NASDAQ up 12 points, about 0.1%, so not too much movement there. 10-year U.S. Treasury is up 3.7 basis points to 3.773%. Oil, West Texas Intermediate, falling $1.24 a barrel to $70.32. And we've got gold here, up $5.20 an ounce to $26.8220. Also, the AAA national average for gas prices up 0.3 cents to $3.21 3/10. Still floating around that $3.20 market, not making any major further moves lower as we'd kind of hoped for and saw the potential for given gasoline futures. But hey, $3.20 still better than $3.50, so we'll take it for now. Quick break for the entire rest of the day. We are back tomorrow, and we would love it if you joined us here on the